Welcome to the Tim Booker channel, where wisdom is worth sharing. Wishing you an enjoyable listening experience. The book we'll be discussing today is 7 Powers, which reveals the 7 key strategic forces crucial for a company's growth journey. It provides entrepreneurs and managers with a clear roadmap for their business strategy. The author of this book, Helmer, is a professor at Stanford Business School. He holds a PhD in economics from Yale University and is an accomplished business strategy expert. Helmer offers strategic consulting to various companies, including well-known names like Netflix, Spotify, Adobe, and HP. He also actively applies his unique strategic concepts to equity investments. Currently, he serves as the Chief Investment Officer and co-founder of a strategic capital company. In today's rapidly changing business environment, where competition is fierce, companies need to establish their competitive edge. But how can one build a competitive advantage? There are numerous books available on business competition and strategy, but many remain at a theoretical level without providing practical methods and tools. What sets 7 Powers apart is its ability to dissect the general laws of market competition while offering a straightforward and effective analytical framework. It transforms complex business strategies into 7 actionable forces, enabling companies to choose the right strategic direction and action plan based on their developmental stage. This proves invaluable for businesses in their strategic planning. So, what are these 7 strategic forces? They are economies of scale, network effects, counterpositioning, switching costs, brand effects, proprietary resources, and process power. If you've read wuxia novels, you might liken these to the 7 weapons. Indeed, these 7 strategic forces are like the 7 weapons that Helmer has designed for businesses. By possessing and utilizing one or more of these weapons, companies can gain a competitive advantage. Of course, business development is a continuous process of growth and expansion. It's highly unlikely for a company to master all 7 weapons from the beginning. Instead, they must gradually accumulate their strategic strengths in stages and steps. During this process, companies must innovate and strive for advancement continuously, adapting to changes in the market environment to maintain competitiveness and achieve growth. Helmer divides a company's growth journey into 3 stages: the gestation period, the growth phase, and the maturity phase. Next, I'll introduce the meaning, application scenarios, and typical cases of each strategic force in these 3 stages. First, let's look at the initial stage of a company's development, the gestation period, also known as the startup phase. During this time, companies are just getting started, resources are limited, and they face various challenges, including inadequate funding, inexperienced teams, and numerous competitors. At this stage, what startups need to do most is to establish a unique position that lays a solid foundation for future development. Professor Helmer believes that during the gestation period, 2 key strategic forces that need to be emphasized are proprietary resources and counterpositioning. So, what are proprietary resources? In simple terms, proprietary resources are scarce and valuable strategic assets, including capital, talent, data, patents, trademarks, and more. These resources often determine whether a company can gain an advantage in competition and achieve success. Take a typical example. In 1995, a relatively unknown company, Pixar Animation Studios, released its first computer-animated film, Toy Story, which became a massive success. It not only grossed over $350 million in global box office revenue but also won multiple awards, establishing a solid presence in the film industry. Toy Story had a production budget of just $30 million, leading to a remarkable return on investment that astonished the industry. Subsequently, Pixar produced a series of high-quality animated films, including A Bug's Life, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, and more, consistently creating legendary works. Their latest films continue to receive high praise, with an average rating of 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Today, Pixar is a globally recognized benchmark and symbol of excellence in animated filmmaking, with unparalleled production standards. The key to Pixar's success in the fiercely competitive film industry and maintaining long-term market dominance lies in a unique and scarce strategic asset, their talented team. Early on, one of Pixar's co-founders, Steve Jobs, yes, the same Jobs who was once Apple's CEO, recognized the importance of talent. Jobs partnered with John Lasseter and Ed Catmull, both from the Disney animation world, with clear roles and mutual trust and support. Lasseter, a technical visionary, pioneered computer animation, Catmull excelled in creativity and storytelling, and Jobs handled business and financial decisions. Additionally, Pixar assembled its own advisory team, consisting of key figures like Andrew Stanton and Pete Docter from the California Institute of the Arts, who became the creative backbone behind Pixar's sustained success. Pixar's core creative team led the studio to new heights, achieving brilliance in the film industry. To determine if a proprietary resource genuinely provides a strategic advantage, four key criteria need to be met: uniqueness, non-replicability, durability, and importance. In Pixar's case, their core team satisfied all these criteria, making it their key weapon in standing out in a competitive field. Therefore, during the startup phase, founders and teams need to conduct a thorough self-analysis. They should identify what proprietary resources they possess or need to acquire to succeed in their industry. For a startup, having a distinct skill set is of paramount importance. Next, entrepreneurs need to consider how to excel in a competitive environment, especially when facing dominant incumbents. Although startups are often at a resource disadvantage compared to established companies, it does not mean they are destined to fail. In fact, in business history, there are numerous legends of small companies overtaking industry giants. Typical examples include Dell surpassing Compaq, Apple's iPhone defeating Nokia, Netflix challenging Blockbuster, and Pinduoduo rising in e-commerce competition, among others. As the renowned tech writer KK has put it, the role of money in innovation is often overestimated. Upon close examination of these successful startups, we can observe several commonalities. First, their business models are disruptive, different from traditional enterprises. Second, these business models can successfully disrupt the dominance of established players in the market. Finally, they can steadily accumulate a customer base, while the incumbents seem powerless to respond. However, you might wonder why incumbent companies with their vast resources don't use their scale advantages to quash these threats early on. Is it merely due to the ineptitude of their executive teams? Professor Helmer believes that this is actually a result of a fundamental business competition principle known as counterpositioning. So, what is counterpositioning? In simple terms, it refers to entering the market with a business model that is entirely different from the market mainstream and traditional approaches. This unique business model renders existing incumbent companies unprofitable, leading them to have no incentive to imitate or transform actively. For a straightforward example, when Tesla entered the automotive market, it chose a completely different path, exclusively selling electric vehicles and foregoing traditional gasoline-electric hybrid or purely gasoline models. This created a dilemma for traditional automakers. On one hand, if they followed Tesla's lead and transitioned to making purely electric vehicles, they would likely harm their existing gasoline vehicle business. On the other hand, if they maintained the status quo, they risked losing the early advantage in the emerging electric vehicle market. Consequently, most established automakers chose not to act, providing Tesla with a significant strategic opportunity. The key to counterpositioning is adopting a new business model for entering the market. This model typically involves costs that are higher than the potential returns for established incumbent companies, giving them no incentive to actively emulate or adapt. This seemingly inverted business game has paved the way for countless entrepreneurial legends. It teaches us that to conquer new territory in the marketplace, one often needs to embrace a unique operating model. This requires wisdom, rather than blind courage. Next, let's examine the second stage of a company's development, the growth phase. As a company continues to expand its scale and increase its market share, it gradually enters the growth phase. At this point, the primary challenge for the company is not survival but how to sustain a competitive advantage and grow its market share. According to the author, Hamilton Helmer, there are three strategic forces that companies need to focus on during the growth phase. These are economies of scale, network effects, and switching costs. They all contribute to helping companies continue to expand their scale and gain a lasting competitive advantage. Let's discuss each of these in turn. First, what are economies of scale? Economies of scale are a phenomenon where, as a company's production volume increases, the average cost per unit of product gradually decreases. The underlying principle is simple: a company has many fixed costs, such as factories, equipment, patents, and more. If these fixed investments are distributed over only 100 products, each product bears a high cost. However, when production increases to 1,000 products, the same fixed costs are spread over a greater number of products, naturally reducing the average cost per product. One direct consequence of economies of scale is that larger companies can utilize their scale advantage to capture market share at lower unit costs, creating a barrier to entry that makes it challenging for smaller companies to compete. So, where does economies of scale manifest? The key areas include 1. Industries related to production scale and geography, such as distribution centers and warehousing, where operating costs are linked to scale and geography. 2. Delivery network density, where distribution companies can reduce transportation costs by optimizing routes. 3. Learning curve effects, where the proficiency of employees leads to reduced unit costs and improved quality. 4. Fixed investments in research and development and production can be amortized over greater production volume. An example of a company leveraging economies of scale is Netflix. Netflix invests heavily each year in producing video content, such as movies and TV shows. Initially, it did not turn a profit. However, as the content library grew, it attracted more and more subscribers. Once it reached a certain scale, it could amortize the high production costs over more users. Consequently, the average cost per user decreased, enabling Netflix to lower subscription fees and continue expanding its market, creating a positive feedback loop. As the content and user base continued to grow, other video streaming platforms found it challenging to compete with Netflix. This is the power of economies of scale. Next, let's explore what network effects are. In simple terms, network effects refer to the phenomenon in our economic lives where each additional user or vendor makes related products or services more valuable. In other words, the more users a product or service has, the more valuable it becomes. This may sound a bit abstract, so let's consider some examples. Think of platforms like WeChat, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Airbnb. Have you noticed that the more users these platforms have, the richer the information they provide, and the broader your social circle becomes, naturally making them more valuable? More people see the value, join in, and create a virtuous cycle. From a business perspective, big companies use network effects to capture a more significant market share at a lower cost. For example, LinkedIn, with its vast user database, has become unbeatable in the fields of recruitment and corporate social networking. Newcomers would need to offer highly attractive incentives to compete for users. Likewise, TikTok is another classic example of network effects. TikTok's recommendation system makes it easy for users to discover content from creators they like. Compared to other early social platforms, TikTok's recommendations are more tailored, meeting users' viewing needs and sparking their interest in sharing and creating content. The more users there are, the more precise the recommendations, and that's why TikTok thrives globally. However, you might wonder if network effects are invincible. In reality, they're not always. Sometimes, when network effects are too strong, it can lead to a situation where the big fish eat the smaller ones, resulting in a lack of market competitiveness. Furthermore, each platform has its limits to influence. For instance, while TikTok is hugely popular worldwide, Instagram also has its own space because they cater to different user demographics. So, network effects are indeed essential, but the key is to have a great product from the start. Only by initially meeting user needs and consistently offering quality services can you truly leverage network effects to become an industry leader. The third strategic force during the growth phase is switching costs. This refers to the learning costs and conversion expenses that users face when switching to a competitor. These costs tend to encourage user loyalty to their current service provider. To illustrate with a simple example, if a user has already become accustomed to using a mobile banking app from a particular bank and is familiar with its user interface and operation procedures, they may be reluctant to learn how to use another bank's app. This investment in learning and familiarity represents a switching cost. Switching costs can be categorized into three main types. 1. Financial costs. These are quantifiable costs, such as expenses required to switch products or services. 2. Process costs. These costs can be less clear but are equally significant. They arise from losing familiarity with the current product or the risks and uncertainties associated with adopting a new product. Transitioning systems can force employees to change their daily work routines, potentially requiring significant expenses for training and adaptation. 3. Relationship costs. These costs relate to the emotional bonds established with suppliers. Customers often develop close and positive relationships with sales and service teams from the supplier. This familiarity and positive experience can lead customers to resist severing ties and switching to another supplier. Regarding how to leverage switching costs to build a competitive advantage and pricing power, you can find more detailed insights in the book Growth Structures. Interested readers can explore the book for a deeper understanding. Finally, let's take a look at the strategic forces that companies need to focus on during the mature phase of their development. When a company successfully enters the mature phase, it has firmly established itself in its industry and accumulated valuable, interconnected brand assets. However, it also faces new challenges. These challenges include maintaining a steady increase in market share while continuously enhancing its core competitiveness to adapt to an increasingly competitive environment. The author believes that, during a company's mature phase, the two most critical strategic forces are brand effect and process advantage. What is a brand effect? It refers to the brand's recognition and influence in the market. Brand effect is akin to the gravitational force of the business world. It shapes consumer preferences and distinguishes industry leaders from new entrants. A great example of brand effect is Nike. This global sportswear brand is not only a manufacturer but also represents a dynamic lifestyle and unwavering spirit. Nike, along with its distinctive logo and slogan, "Just Do It," enjoys widespread recognition worldwide. Even when its competitors offer similar products, many consumers still choose Nike. That's because they believe that this brand represents not only quality but also a way to affirm their lifestyle and personal beliefs. Another example of a brand effect is Tiffany. This high-end jewelry brand has become a symbol of wealth and elegant taste, with the Tiffany blue becoming a distinctive emblem closely associated with it. In contrast, online jewelry brands like Blue Nile offer similar products but can't compete with Tiffany's brand history and reputation. Tiffany's prices may be higher, but consumers are willing to pay a premium for the brand itself. In summary, brand effect is not something that happens overnight, it's the result of long-term, focused efforts. It requires various elements, including robust product quality, well-crafted marketing strategies, and a clear brand positioning. Brands like Nike and Tiffany have gone through such a journey to achieve their current success. Now, let's talk about process advantage. It refers to a company excelling in its core business processes, achieving quality and efficiency advantages that are difficult for competitors to replicate. A typical example is the Toyota Production System, TPS. TPS originated in the early 1950s when Toyota's engineers visited Ford's factories in the United States and realized the importance of process management for cost and quality. Toyota began to develop the TPS system, gradually establishing this unique automotive production model through continuous improvements. Initially, Toyota had only a 0.1% market share in the United States, while General Motors held a dominant position with a 48% market share. However, half a century later, Toyota successfully became the world's leading automaker, alongside General Motors and Ford, steadily increasing its market share. The core of the Toyota model lies in minimizing waste by optimizing processes in various aspects of the supply chain, production, and quality management. This advantage is not something other car companies can easily replicate because it involves the coordination and systematic optimization of the entire industry chain, not just a few steps in the production process. It's this unique quality that makes Toyota's TPS a strategic force in establishing a process advantage for high-quality production. So far, we've discussed the 7 strategic weapons that Hamilton Helmer summarized. However, among these diverse cases, a common thread can be found. The fundamental source of each strategic force is a company's internal capabilities, sustained innovation. What is innovation? Simply put, it's the creation of new ideas that deliver value to customers. Innovation can stem from the transformation of a company's core capabilities or from insights into market demands. Many companies have achieved remarkable success by transforming their core capabilities into innovative products. For example, Adobe's innovative product, Acrobat, created a software that allowed the sharing of documents across different computer platforms while maintaining visual integrity. Acrobat capitalized on technological advancements and met the demand for retaining document appearance. In these instances, adapting to changing environmental demands is a necessary condition for innovation. However, many companies identify unmet needs but struggle with how to fulfill them. In such cases, technological prowess becomes vital. For instance, optical fiber was seen as a holy grail in the communications industry, capable of handling vast amounts of communication. However, the requirements for manufacturing glass optical fibers were almost unimaginable. In this scenario, a Corning employee, Frank Moeller, used pure silica to innovate and manufacture glass conductors from scratch. The introduction of optical fiber reduced communication costs and became one of the most significant energy technologies of the 20th century, profoundly transforming society. Other examples abound. In the 1980s, Microsoft successfully transformed its software development capabilities into an operating system, seizing control of the personal computer operating system market. In 2007, Apple recognized the market opportunity presented by smartphones and developed the groundbreaking touchscreen iPhone, astonishing the entire mobile phone industry and gaining a dominant position. In 2013, Tesla seized the historical opportunity of electric cars and successfully established itself in the high-end electric car market, taking a technological lead. Every successful business innovation, as seen in these examples, is a result of a company's insight into market demands combined with its technological strength. These innovations also provide companies with powerful strategic forces. Nevertheless, innovation alone is not enough, market scale should also be considered. Just as Netflix's innovation in video streaming opened up a massive new market, resulting in a 100-fold increase in business value. To achieve business success, companies must have the dual drive of innovation and scale. On the one hand, there's continuous innovation, accumulating strategic forces. On the other hand, there's consideration of how to tap into a promising emerging market through this innovation. Innovation and scale are the dual keys to the pinnacle of business success. The extraordinary success of legendary companies throughout history is the result of this dual drive. Conversely, companies lacking an innovative spirit will eventually be surpassed by competitors who dare to innovate. With this, the interpretation of this book is drawing to a close, and let's summarize. This book, authored by Hamilton Helmer, a professor at the Stanford Graduate School of Business, titled The 7 Powers, introduces 7 strategic forces that businesses need to establish and utilize on their developmental journey. It also emphasizes the importance of nurturing the relevant strategic forces for each stage of a company's development. To be more specific, during a company's founding stage, the focus should be on building monopoly resource and positioning reversal. The former ensures access to scarce resources needed for competition, while the latter leverages disruptive business models to gain a first-mover advantage. In the growth stage, it's crucial to acquire 3 forces: economies of scale, network effects, and conversion costs. These can help the company expand and maintain the momentum for continued growth. However, when a company enters the mature stage, it's paramount to leverage brand effect and process advantage to solidify its market position. Throughout all these cases, a common thread emerges: the core foundation of every strategic force is a company's ability for continuous innovation. As the author mentions, innovation guides the acquisition of strategic forces. Without ongoing innovation in products, processes, brands, and more, no strategy can remain effective over the long term. In conclusion, this book provides a direction for the survival and growth of businesses. To thrive in the ever-changing business environment, companies must possess strategic capabilities and continually adapt. Only in this way can they take the initiative. Congratulations on completing another book. We appreciate your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker Channel audiobook channel. Like and share with your family and friends because wisdom is worth spreading, and it opens the door to a brighter future. Thank you, and goodbye.